Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Now, our main speaker will share his experience, strength, and hope with us. Please join me in welcoming Ancel C. from Lomita.
My name's Ancel Cook, and I am an alcoholic.
Hi,
How do you like me so far? This is the international meeting tonight. You had John from the Bronx. You got me from Oklahoma. The first three words that an Okie baby learns to say is Mama, Papa, Bakersfield. Welcome to all of our new friends. If you feel bad about being an AA and being an alcoholic, you shouldn't. You know, AA and alcoholism is so well accepted nowadays that we're having trouble keeping social climbers out. The first recorded alcoholic was Adam. He turned to God and said, "She made me do it." Christopher Columbus, he was an alcoholic. You know, when he left Spain, he didn't know where he was going. He got here, he didn't know where he was. He got back home, he couldn't tell anybody where he'd been. And he did all that by borrowing money off of a woman. You know, in the Bible, the good Lord didn't leave the women out. He gave them the right to complain. It says so in the Bible. I read it. It said Mary rode Joseph's ass all the way to Bethlehem. I'm glad we got some Al-Anon here. The first recorded Al-Anon was Ben Franklin's wife. You know, Ben was trying to discover some electricity, and he's out, and he's flying the kite, and he just wouldn't fly, and his wife sticks her head out the window and says, "Ben, I think you need some more tail." He said, "I wish you'd make up your mind. Last night you told me to go fly a kite." Well, I really truly didn't want to become an alcoholic. I think it's one of the fringe benefits of just drinking too much. And I'm from a long line of drinkers, and I didn't want to be like my daddy and my uncles. I didn't want to be like them. See, my daddy was a drunk. He wasn't a vicious drunk, but I remember as a kid growing up, he and my mother used to get in some real bad arguments. And these arguments seemed to culminate with the fact that it turned my brother, I had a brother who was a year and 3 months older than I am, and it turned my brother or myself and say, "If we separate, who will you go live with?" See, that's a hard decision for a child of 9, 10, 11 years old to make when you love both your parents so very, very much. I'm happy to say they never did separate. They lived together for 57 years before my dad died 6 years ago of cancer. But like I say, I'm from a long line. Back in Oklahoma when they wore guns, my paternal grandfather and his brother, they were off drinking, they were playing poker, and they got into an argument with each other. And my Uncle George outdrew my grandfather, and he shot and killed him, brother against brother. Had an uncle died an alcoholic death in a veterans hospital in Sulphur, Oklahoma, a married man with 4 children. My Uncle Joe, he had 3 boys and 1 daughter. At the time he died, none of them was at his bedside. 2 of his sons didn't even come back to his funeral. That's how much they cared about their father. I have a half uncle who's on a program of Alcoholics Anonymous from Fresno, California, my Uncle Leonard. He's been sober for over 30 years, and I feel reasonably sure that if you can stay sober in Fresno for 30 minutes, this program will work. I started drinking when I was about 13 years old. I think that's kind of the age that we remember mostly. And I started, I tell you, this group of kids in my school that I admired and I respected, and everybody admired and respected. These were very popular kids. They wore crew-cut haircuts. They wore Levi's with cuffs rolled up 2 or 3 inches, and they wore penny loafers, nickels, dimes in them. I said, boy, that's class, and I wish I looked like that. But I pictured myself as a poor kid. My daddy was a truck driver. My mother was a cook in the city school. And I wore Oklahoma brogans. My hair was long, and I wore bib overalls. And I wanted so much to belong to this group of people. Everybody loved them, and they drank. I thought, if I can just be in the same bars where they are, I don't have to be drinking with them, sitting next to them. Same bars where they are, I can become one of them by association. The first time I drank, I got drunk, and I went home and I laid down in bed, and a strange phenomenon happened in Ardmore, Oklahoma. My bedroom started going round and round and round. Has a very nauseating effect on you, I ended up in the bathroom heaving up my guts, and I wakened my mother, precious God-fearing. My mother, she's a sweetheart. She's 83 years old. She just came out and spent 3 weeks with us out here in California, and she's gone back home now. But she came in, here's her baby boy draped for the toilet. He was sick, and he was drunk. Now, my mother's Pentecostal holiness. She's a little bit pissed off at Jimmy Swaggart right now. In defense of Jimmy, I want to tell you, Jimmy misunderstood that lady down there in Indio. Yeah. Jimmy thought she said she was a Protestant. Well, I got a bunch of them. My mother was crushed to see me in that condition. She woke up Daddy. Daddy's not crushed, but Daddy's mad. So what Daddy decided to do is go to the bootlegger, buy a pint of bourbon, bring it home, and make me drink it. The logic is, I'm already so sick from drinking bourbon, I'm going to get more sick. In future life, I'll remember how sick that I'd gotten, and I won't drink so much. That was the first shit-shadle aversion program ever introduced in Oklahoma, right here. They tell me that kind of therapy today will cost you $30,000 a month. And it worked. To a certain degree, I developed a dislike for bourbon. I changed to scotch. I used to invite the girls up to my apartment with scotch and sofa. I didn't have a sofa. Boy, were they ever floored. That's a little Oklahoma humor I want to share with y'all before you left. I'd sidle up these good-looking girls, and when I was drinking, they were all good-looking. I can honestly tell you folks tonight that I never went to bed with an ugly woman. I woke up with a bunch of them, though, And I'm sure they looked at me and said, that's no prize either. You wake up with a coyote hangover. A coyote hangover is when you wake up in the morning and see this thing laying on your arm. Don't wake them up. Chew your arm off, walk off down that street. A cautious drunk will chew the other arm off so it'll never happen to him again. I've turned to somebody who loved the thing. My God, who are you? And hope that you wouldn't say the bride. Big smile come across her face. Not a tooth in her head. She'd throw her arm over on me, and I looked back in sobriety, and I hoped that was her arm. Last night, you big old long, tall, Inglink you. You call me your Yellow Rose of Texas. I have never in my life seen anything fade and wilt so fast. My brother used to take care of me. He'd find me out and I was drunk. Richard would take me on the country roads outside of Ardmore, Oklahoma, and he ran me up down those country roads to give me some symptoms of sobriety before he let me go home because he knew I'd hurt my mother and my daddy. I graduated from high school in 1953 and I went off to college 180 miles away from Ardmore, Oklahoma, Stillwater, Oklahoma. I pledged a social fraternity. I made my grades. I was initiated. I became sociably accepted. My first great desire in life was to be sociably accepted. I graduated from college in 1957. I got my BS degree, and I still use it today. I started teaching school, a class in high school in Oklahoma City, teaching speech and drama. Now in Oklahoma, you can talk like this and teach speech. Mario wants to learn too, you know. I hated school teaching. I was getting ready to quit when I found out they had sick leave. Then it became a pretty good job. I accumulated sick leave, and I did what any practicing alcoholic should do. I'd go out and get drunk. So one night I was drinking Uptown Pit on North Walker in Oklahoma City, and 3 of my students came in. I'm sitting at the bar, and I'm drunk, and I'm crying. See, I cried a lot when I got drunk. Now, I used to think that if I would cry a lot when I got drunk, I wouldn't have to go to the bathroom near as often. My students came in. One stayed all night long, said I didn't drink the rest of the night, and said I made class the next day. At the end of one semester, I decided school teaching was for me. The Oklahoma City school system decided the same thing. So I'm here to tell y'all tonight that I am a retired school teacher. No benefits, I'm just retired. I went back to college. I started working on a master's degree. Daddy, he retired from college. He quit to send me money. He said that I should go to work, and I thought manual labor was the president of Mexico. I still do. So I got a job as a disc jockey in my own hometown, a little radio station there. I was there about 6 weeks, and a TV station bought them out, and they transferred me to Sherman, Texas, as news director of a TV station. Any Texans here? Paula, honey, you're too pretty to be from Texas, I think. Texas, I know y'all are proud of Texas. Very well, you should be. See, Texas is the only state that's mentioned in our big book. It says that we reached a state of pitiful, incomprehensible demoralization. They mentioned it twice. It said we seem to have been in a state of confusion. Sherman, Texas, beautiful aristocratic city in North Texas with 2 problems, 3 of them when I moved down there. Number 1, they're owned by the Methodists. Number 2, the Methodists borrow the money from the Baptists to buy it. You can't find nothing drinking in that town. But 18 miles north in Denison, Texas, those people know how to live. They have packaged liquor stores. They have beer joints with shuffleboards in them. So I moved to Denison, Texas. Well, I started doing 2 newscasts a day, 6 o'clock news and 10 o'clock news. And it became progressively hard for me to do the 10 o'clock news. I do it, but I was subject to sinking spells. They never knew when I might just sink right off underneath the camera, you know? So my agent came, my boss came to my rescue and said, I know what your problem is. I want to help you. You're working too hard. So he took me off the 10 o'clock news, put me on 12 noon news. So I was doing 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock. I started getting up earlier. Because I got up earlier, it became progressively hard for me to do the 6 o'clock news. And again, my boss came to my rescue, and in the afternoon for an hour and 45 minutes, there was a kiddie program called Popeye Time with Uncle Ancel. 25 kids a day, 5 days a week. And old Uncle Ancel, he used to get a little over-medicated at times. Had this dairy that sponsored the program. I don't think I ever did their commercial once without throwing up, you know. They just say the dairy didn't appreciate my ability to do their commercials. They said, if you don't get the drunk off the air, we'll cancel everything we have with you. The mothers wrote the TV station, you know, Uncle Ancel breed on my Johnny's hair, and I think he's going to be bald-headed for the rest of his life. So again, my boss came to my rescue. I'm still doing the noon news. Immediately following the noon news for an hour and a half, there's a woman's cooking show. And I end up as a hand me this, Ancel, darling. Hand me this, Ancel. See, the bad part about doing that stuff, Ancel, darling, had to eat that stuff she was cooking. So one day, Dorothy said, Ancel, darling, hand me the vanilla extract. And I did. And it was a pint bottle. And what Dorothy didn't use, Uncle Ancel did. I took the bottle home and I refilled it with scotch. I went back out that TV station next day. I did that show again. And again, I carried that bottle home with me. I did that show on a daily basis, 5 days a week for 6 years. My boss, he came to me one day and said, you like this show, don't you? I said, I love this show. Well, I soon outgrew local television. When Will Rogers moved from the state of Oklahoma to the state of California, he said, I have improved the IQ of both states. So I came out here to help y'all out. Gonna become a big-time motion picture actor movie star. They were a little bit slow in discovering me. 32 years so far. So I do some odd jobs. Got a job selling carpeting. The only job I sold, wall carpet, my cousin's bathroom. Then I got a job selling cars. Then I got the perfect job for the practicing alcoholic. I started driving an ambulance. Look at all the free oxygen you get, you know? How about I pick up this patient that had a heart attack, you know, and he wanted the mask. I said, man, I need the mask. Because you don't understand, I'm having a heart attack. I said, you don't understand, I've got a headache. And I got to drive. I got fired from that job, but at the time they're doing a TV series called Tammy, starring Debbie Watson, Fred McGrath, and Denver Pyle. My agent sent me out to Universal Studios. I read for the part, and I signed a 2-year contract doing the Tammy TV series. I started doing some commercials, I started doing some movies, and I transposed overnight from poor Okie to rich Okie. And on page 87 of the Rich Okie's handbook, it says the Rich Okies do not drive Chevrolets. I bought me the biggest Cadillac that one person's authorized to drive all by themselves. And on page 99 of that Rich Okie's handbook, it says the Rich Okies do not have common, ordinary mothers and fathers. My daddy, the truck driver back home in Ardmore, Oklahoma, he became a rich cattleman. Sometimes Daddy was a rich oil man. If he didn't feel like talking to you, Daddy's just rich. My mother, who was a cook in a city school in West for 38 years, she became a country club socialite. You know, I told you before, my mother, she loves me dearly. She really, truly does. But if my mother found out some of the things that I had told people she had done when I was drinking, she'd kill me and tell the good Lord I died of a natural death. But see, I wasn't happy with Ancel. I had put Ancel out in the front and put everything else in the background, so this is who I am, love me this way. I never was able to get anybody to know me as I am. I always had to portray myself as something else, which is called a lie. I was trying so hard to find happiness. I always thought that growing up as a kid, if I could make $100 a week, I'd be happy. And you know, back then, that was a lot of money. When I started doing the Tammy TV series, I was making $1,500 a week. Now, that's a lot of money today, but back in 1965, that was a bunch of money. And I was drinking every bit of it up. I always thought if I had a good-looking girl by my side, I'm going to be happy, and I'm not going to drink so much. I had the best-looking girls money could buy. Bought a bunch of them, too, you know. I wasn't happy, not till I found this program of Alcoholics Anonymous. Did I find that happiness is inside. On August 24th of 1935, when I was born a happy child. And I suppressed that happiness for so many years. And for me to be happy, I had to be at peace with Ancel Cook. But at the end of 2 years, they canceled Tammy TV series. They canceled me, too. They said, "Ye shall never work at Universal Studios again for as long as ye shall live." Plus 8 days. But in sobriety, I've been out there not once, but several times. When I was cut free, my agent, he couldn't find me half the time. Did find me, I was drunk, I was hungover. And I've got the type of features that when I've been drinking for a little while, so 15, 20 minutes, my eyes began to recede in the back of my head. There was one point in my drinking career that I had to wear contact lenses just to see my glasses. They didn't do horror movies then, so I didn't work very much. The only job that my agent could find for me was number 2 boy on the dating game.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think.
I was younger then. Times started getting pretty hard. Big time motion picture actor, movie star. I had plastic surgery. They removed my Bank of America card, MasterCard, carte blanche. I was excommunicated from the phone company. I always getting kicked out of apartments. I was living with a girl in Bel Air, and she kicked me out. You know, that's bad when a girl kicks you out. After all, I was giving her my body. It was younger then. Usually limp, too, you know. Alcohol does not have a great starch value. But I remembered her saying something as I was walking out the door, that she was damn tired of sleeping in a waterbed and we didn't own one. And all this time I thought it was her, and I was just too nice to say anything about it, you know. I called a fraternity brother of mine, lived in Rolling Hill, an old drinking buddy of mine. Jim, he and I raised more cane together in college, but he married a Mormon girl 30-some-odd years ago, and he put the plug in the jug, and he hadn't had a drink since. So I called him, I said, Jim, I got a problem. He said, yeah, I know it. So he knew about my alcoholism. I was the type of drunk who always wanted to commit suicide, but I never did want to die doing it. If you contemplate suicide and you're not serious, the safest thing that you can do is throw yourself under a parked car. But that's not very dramatic, you know. If you contemplate suicide and you're not serious, do not use a gun. Because once you pull that trigger, you have to be mighty fast to dodge that bullet. You take pills, but the secret is call someone first. Can't you see taking a handful of pills, you dial up your rescuers? They're not at home. Call someone first, get their solemn oath on the way after you. If you live in a metropolitan area like we do, you should allow for freeway traffic. If they got into a traffic jam, your suicide tip could become an accidental death. You know that. And when you know they're there to get you, take a handful of pills so the doctor will find something, punch out your stomach, they won't think that you lied to them. But I told him, Jim, it's not what you think. I got no job, I've got no money, and I've got no place to live. He said, coming down to our house. So I put everything I had in the back of my Cadillac. I still had a Cadillac. It didn't look like a Cadillac. I redesigned it all by myself. People get in my car and say, what kind of car is this? So I moved in, lock, stock, and barrel. Jim, his wife, Sonia, he gave me that credit card, put gas in my car. I was Connie Ching, lying still, and get that gas to put in my body. I ended up drinking in some low-class bars, and I had to get back to plush bars. And I'd always call my mother and my daddy out of money. You see, my mother, growing up in Oklahoma, she always had this fear that one day myself or my brother would be in jail, and she couldn't stand that thought. So I knew that. And when I needed money, I always called my mother. It was some kind of a lie and a call collect, too, you know. Mother, I need X numbers of dollars. Mother, I got to have it by tomorrow because if I don't get it, I'm going to go to jail. See, that was the great fear in Mother's life. And I knew that. And always, I had airmail, especially, I had how much I'd ask for. I think one of the hardest parts of this program, when you get honest, you get sober. I had to tell my mother and my daddy that I had been to jail, not once, but several times. I went to jail a couple of times for drunk driving, 3 times for public drunk, and 1 time because a policeman liked me. I think. But I had to get back to plush bars, so one more time I called my mother and my daddy, and I conned them out of $1,000. I took off the bars where I always drank. I don't remember leaving them. There's a lot of bars I don't remember leaving. But I ended up running into a parked car, and I ended up, parked cars was my specialty. I was the champion parked car in West Hollywood. You know, my neighbors would see me all drink. They're parked miles away and take the bus home. But I ended up in the hospital at UCLA for observation for a concussion, but where I sustained a concussion in my wallet because I had just a little over $1,000 left out of that, $300 left out of that $1,000. They called my friend Jim about 5 o'clock in the morning and said, I could go home now. Would he come and get me? Jim, who'd always ride in my rescue, so I'm in bed. My family's in bed. Would you mind keeping him until we get up? See, Jim was not coming to get me any longer at my convenience. See, Jim was not going to ruin his life anymore for me. He picked me up later that morning and he took me back to Rolling Hills. At the age of 35, life literally had ended for Ancel Cook. His lies that I had lived so long, they become truth. And I became very suicidal, but in the moment of clarity that you've got and I've got and people like this and rooms like this came to me and I reached out for help. I turned to Jim's wife, Sonia. I said, Sonia, I'm sick and I need help. That afternoon, she had me at the Harvard General Hospital. They locked me up in the psychiatric ward. I got out. They put me into a crisis clinic with an alcoholic counselor. She kept saying, you should go to AA. What about me? I don't want to go to AA. See, I knew what AA was like because I had this picture in my mind exactly what it's like. AA is one big room and everybody sits around this wall out there. Big old room. It's got a big light hanging right down out in the middle out there. Everybody sits there and they watch. And pretty soon, there's somebody who can't take it anymore. Oh, I want a drink! And everybody will hold him down until that urge passes. I'm not sick. I know what it's like. The book tells us no man likes to think yet bodily and different than his fellow, therefore not an alcoholic. And I fought it tooth and nail. So one day afternoon session, Mary Jane turned to this hippie-looking drug addict who's a drunk and rode a motorcycle. Says, Gene, what are you doing at this meeting? Said, nothing. Said, take this boy to an AA meeting. So they strapped me, a big-time motion picture actor movie star, on the back of a motorcycle, behind a hippie-looking drug addict, and took me to an AA meeting. You don't hear well when you first come to these meetings because you're so obsessed with what people are saying about you. And there was a good-looking blonde reading chapter 5, said, if you want what we have, I knew I was home because I wanted what she had. Oh, God, and I was going to go to any lengths to get it, too, I'll guarantee you. They told me that if I would bring my body, there was a strong possibility that my mind might follow. I walked through the doors of AA on March 20th of 1971, and I came in here with all the qualifications for being here. And from that date to this date, I have met the only requirement for staying here, the desire to stop drinking. But I still came in with the facade, this is who I am, love me this way. But they loved me despite the lies I told to them. They helped me get a job. I got a job driving an ice cream truck in West Hollywood. Used to ring my chimes all over that area. If you're not careful up there now, somebody else will ring your chime. They tell me that in West Hollywood, if you drop your wallet on Santa Monica Boulevard, kick it up to Sunset before you pick it up. God don't like drunks play golf on Easter. He don't like them to tell jokes like that. Anyway, my agent started talking to me. He called me. He said, I had an interview for you at Warner Brothers in Burbank. I drove my ice cream truck out there. I didn't get the job, but, you know, I sold 6 Cheerios, 3 Fudgsicles, 8 Popsicles, a half-pint Tutti Frutti. I became despondent and said something better would come along. It wasn't long after that I went to Utah for 3 months working a Western movie. We get through filming up there, and I'm walking the airport in Salt Lake City with a couple of Okie buddies of mine, Ronnie Howard and his dad, Rance. I said, would y'all take these few things back to L.A. for me? And Rance said, where are you going? I said, I'm going home to Oklahoma. And I called my mother and my daddy and asked if they'd meet me in Dallas, Texas. And when I stepped off that airplane the first time in 9 years, my mother and daddy seen their baby boy come home. He was sober. It was that point in my life that I was able to make the amends to my mother and my daddy and tell them how sorry I was that I had denied them, actually, my parentage. I denied them seeing me grow up. And I was able to make those amends, and I'm grateful for that. I came back to California because I have a problem program of Alcoholics Anonymous, a thing called honesty. I could not be honest. The things that they said don't do, I did. Don't get emotionally involved your first year of sobriety. My God, I went through 3 alcoholic girls, 2 normal girls, and anything stands still. Besides sheep, we were cattle ranchers back home. Did make a U-turn once. That's it's a driving joke. Just kind of sneaking it in, that's all. It's always the same. This time it's true love. Come sundown, we're going to ride off in the sunset on matching palominos. Happy trails to you. But come sundown, there's always someone else on my horse. I went to my sponsor after this most involved. I said, Bob, why can't I find the peace and freedom on this program? Less time than I. You know, Bob, I haven't drank for over 2 years. And I'm miserable. Because, see, I stayed sober on fear and fear. Not going back to Nut House. I just stayed sober on fear. Bob said, why don't you work the steps? I said, God, if that'll help, let's do it, Bob. Let's take an inventory. Right now, ask me. He said, you have to write it out. I said, Bob, I'm not ashamed to tell you anything. Just ask me. He said, you have to write it out. I said, how do you get started? He said, where do you have a problem with? I said, women. He said, well, start there. So the first 35 pages, my 418-page inventory, will be out in paperback next month. There's a prayer in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous in chapter 5, the prelude to step 3 that I had read, and I'd never ever seen it. And it says, paraphrase says, God, relieve me of the bonds of self, that I may do thy will, not mine. And that night, with all the earnestness and sincerity I could muster up this oaky frame of mine, I got down on my hands and my knees, and I asked God, as I understand God, to relieve me of the bonds of Ancel Cook. And today, I'll tell you that I have been set free. Today, I like Ancel Cook. Today, all the things I sat in bars, dream about doing today, I do. You know, I used to sit in bars, dream about flying an airplane. Well, today, I can fly an airplane. There's some people flown with me think differently. Anybody can fly them, it's a landing. I always bring a lot of paper with you if you're going to fly with me. You may have to fill some paperwork out, you know. Emotional involvement, stay emotional involved, beautiful young girl, my wife. For the first time in my life, at age 38, I got married. For the first time in my life, at age 40, I became a father.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom?
I got the most precious night. She just turned 20 years old, 22nd of this month here, my oldest daughter. And being alcoholic, you know, if you got a good streak going, keep it up. So 17 years ago, last January, the good Lord blessed us with another girl. So I have a 17-year-old daughter and a 20-year-old daughter and a wife of 22 years who's never seen their husband or their father take a drink. And I'm grateful for that. As long as I stay in this program and stay where I am, they will never see me take a drink. And I'm grateful to God for that, I'll guarantee you. I love my kids tremendously. I was doing a picture, and I came home one day, and my oldest daughter said, "Who's the star of the picture, Dad?" I said, "Well, Sam Elliott and Ben Gazzara and a new guy out here from Houston. He's a dancer. His name's Swayze." "Oh, we're going to work you tomorrow, Dad." I said, "No." "No, honey, you're in school and you can't go out. We're on location out in Saugus, Newhall area." I said, You can't go." "Well, Dad, we're making good grades." Well, anyway, they had a good time out there. I love to smoke Pall Mall cigarettes. I smoked 3 packages of Pall Malls a day for 36 years. Not the same 3 packages. The point I'm trying to make is I smoke a lot, not slow, okay? We're going down to get Daddy some cigarettes, because, see, Daddy's a much nicer person when he's got cigarettes. And we're walking along, my oldest daughter, beautiful brown eyes, she built this little... Well, you know my daughter. Y'all know my daughter. She's just built like a rail. Matter on her Jeep, her license plate, stick woman, because she's just like a rail, you see. So we're walking along, and she looks at me and says, "Daddy, would you do me a favor?" I said, "Sure, honey, anything in the world I can do for you. What is it?" I said, "I'll do it." She said, "Daddy, would you not smoke anymore?" I said, "What an order. I can't go through with it." So I gave it my best shot. That was 10 years ago, last October. I didn't buy any cigarettes that night. Haven't bought any, haven't smoked any since. I'm not advocating quitting smoking, because that's none of my business. The point I'm trying to make is today I am responsible. If I tell you I'm going to be someplace, I'm going to be there. If I, come hell or high water, I'm going to be there. Because I love my kids. I love my life today. I read this story about the man who was watching television. His son came and said, "Dad, would you come outside and play with me?" I said, "Well, why don't you come back in about 15 minutes, son?" Come back. So little boy, 15 minutes to a child's eternity. But 15 minutes were up, he finally came back in and said, "Let's go play, Dad." So his dad remembers the promise. He gets up, he starts walking out the door. As he's walking out, he sees a magazine. The magazine's open to a page, shows a picture of the world. He tore that page out, then he tore it in a bunch of little bitty pieces, and he gave it to his son and said, "Let's pretend that this is a jigsaw puzzle. I want you to put this puzzle together. When it's all put together, I want you to bring it back to me. And I promise you, we will go outside and play." The little boy walked away with all these pieces of paper, just couldn't believe it. But 5 minutes later, he came back. It was all put together. There wasn't a piece out of place. His dad could not believe it. He said, "How'd you do that, son?" He said, "Well, Daddy, on the other side of that page, there was a picture of a man. And when I put the man together, the world just seemed to fall into place." See, when God put this man together, my world just fell into place. I worked more than I worked in a long, long time. As a lot of y'all know, I did all the Black Angus restaurant commercials. I used to herd snow crab down from Alaska. Accidentally caught my chuck wagon on fire in a little bitty barbecue.
Kind of brave.
It's real light out here. I currently right now have a commercial for Kellogg's Corn Flakes and 2 for Best Western Hotel, 1 for AT&T running on the air right now. We're leaving 3 weeks to Galveston for a movie down there called Road to Galveston with Cicely Tyson and God, what's her name? Last year was a strange year. I want to tell you, last year was really strange. I went to Washington, D.C. to do a movie back there, a thing called Crisis in the Hot Zone with Robert Redford and Jodie Foster. And I got there, and Jodie Foster walked off the picture. So they hired Meryl Streep to replace her, and before Meryl Streep got there, Robert Redford walked off the picture. And I was supposed to be in Washington a week, 2 weeks in South Africa, and back a week and a half in L.A. So they gave me a $40,000 check, told me to go home. Then I signed up a contract to do this job with John Travolta and what's his name, the Jamaican, Harry Belafonte. Hey, I'm not well. Oh, come on. It's called White Man's Burden. It's a terrible picture. But I needed the money. So I signed up to do it, and they decided they didn't want to use the part that I'm in, and they sent me a $1,000 check. So I called my agent, and I said, would you please call Hollywood and see if there's anybody else don't want me to work this year? Yeah. I went to Mexico and I worked on a picture of Burt Reynolds and Liza Minnelli and Gene Hackman, a movie called Lucky Lady. And the whole time that I was there, they made me keep my shirt on so to tell Burt and I apart. We look a lot alike in a dark room. Went to Alabama and worked on a picture of Jeff Bridges and Sally Fields and Arnold Schwarzenegger, a movie called Stay Hungry. Of course I made Arnold look bad. I want you to know that today I'm a versatile actor. I've always played the part of Oklahoma farmers, and I don't know why. But I went up to Calgary, Canada last year, and I did the movie of the week up there, a thing called American Harvest with Wayne Rogers and Earl Holliman, and I broke that mold. I played the part of a Nebraska farmer. Wherever I go, AA is my life. I go to AA. You know, I was in the Philippines. I've been in the Philippines a couple of times, in Australia, Mexico countless times. Wherever I am, I make AA meetings because that's my way of life today. I was in Birmingham, Alabama. I'm going to make this AA meeting down there. And first night I was there in Birmingham, Alabama, and the meeting was over with, and I was going to close the meeting in the Lord's Prayer, and I jumped up and I grabbed this old boy's hand. He was about a half head taller than I was. He stood there, you know. Fella, now out there in Hollywood, boys might hold boys' hands, but we don't do that down here in Birmingham. A new field has opened up to me in sobriety. I'm a model. You too can have a body like this if you neglect it. I was a centerfold in an issue of Automotive News. Life magazine article with Joan Collins. Billboards for Chevrolets. Album cover with Kenny Rogers. Last year I was in a Peterbilt. That's a truck. Okay, I didn't want you to get, yeah. So he grabbed his hand as soon as I said that. I didn't.
It wasn't what I was going for.
Okay. Stick with the hand, it's bigger. I did put on a little bit of weight when I got quit smoking. My wife very diplomatically told me, said, honey, said, you're fat. I said, Jody, honey, I said, when you've got the kind of equipment that I've got, you should build a shed over it. She too thought a shed would have been all right, but I didn't have to build a barn, you know. She also wondered where I kept the equipment while I was building the shed. We're very fortunate people here in Alcoholics Anonymous because we just suffer from disease that's just as deadly as cancer, diabetes, or heart disease. But we've been given a choice on a daily basis, contingent upon our spiritual well-being, on whether we want to live from our disease, we want to die from our disease. That choice is so freely given to us. My brother Richard, who I spoke about earlier, Richard's more like a twin. See, Richard, when he was a kid, before he ever started school, he had eye problems, and we didn't have enough money to buy Richard glasses. So he didn't get to start school when he was supposed to. So he and I went through grade school together. We graduated from high school together. But Richard never did like alcohol, never did take a drink of alcohol. But Richard suffered from terminal disease, and at the age of 40, my brother died of cancer. But I lived my disease because you people have shown me how to live. You know, on March 20th of 1971, when I walked through the old doors of the Manhattan Beach Club over on Sepulveda over there's a group of people who stood in there, and they stuck out their hands and said, "Welcome, friend." I didn't deserve that friendship, but they were there, and they offered it to me. You go into meetings like this. My first meeting was Hollywood Riviera, and there's a group who came up, and they put their arms around me and said, "Hey, I love you." God, I was scared. because I didn't deserve any love at all. And I always equated love with what I knew in bars. You know, it's an entirely different kind of love. But I think the greatest thing they gave me on March 20th of 1971 when I came through the doors of AA was they gave me hope. At that point in my life, there was no hope. A. Houseman said in his poem, The Shropshire Lad, he said, Ale, man, ale is the thing to drink for the man who's afraid to think. Look into the pewter's pot and see the world as the world is not. For 21 years, I looked into a pewter's pot and the world was not there. And I almost killed myself trying to belong to it. And today, for the last 24 plus years, I look at the world's real. And I'm so happy that I didn't kill Ancel Cook back then, because he's a far better person today than I ever thought that he could be. I'll share my dollar bill, and I was going to Oklahoma after emotional involvement. Oh, here it is right here. Going to Oklahoma. See, emotional involvements could get me back to Oklahoma faster than American Airlines could. My sponsor told me, said, you know, you got to make amends to that girl. I said, why, Bob? I gave her a ring. She just gave me the finger. Little Oklahoma humor there. I went out and bought me some stationery, good stuff. I mean, that's $3.50 for that box of stationery. Wood grain. Wrote her, I said, dear, whatever your name is, I hope that you're living as high on the hog as a pig you turned out to be. And my sponsor thought that was derogatory. Anyway, no, I didn't do that. I was just saying that. I didn't do that. I'll take her back in a minute. All of them. Hundreds of them. I'm going home and tell my mother what them California girls did to me out there. My sponsor picked me up about 2 hours before we had to be at the airport. We had a cup of coffee. He said, how much you drinks in Oklahoma? I said, I don't know, Bob, 50, 75 cents. He said, if you decide you want to drink, let me buy your first drink for you. And he gave me this dollar bill. He said, you know I love you in the fellowship of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. And because I love you so very much, I want to give you the very best dollar that I can give you. Look at the dollar. This is a silver certificate. It's backed by silver. It's not a Federal Reserve note. Bob said, that's the best dollar I can give you. So look at the year the dollar was minted. It minted in 1935. So that was the year that I was born. But far greater than my birth, that was the year that AA was born. He said, turn the dollar bill over and look right above the one on your dollar bill. It's printed In God We Trust. On this particular series, nowhere is God's name printed on this dollar bill. Bob said, if you notice, God's name isn't on that dollar bill. If you decide you're going to drink again, you're no longer trusting God to run your life. You're trusting Ancel Cook. If that's where your trust be, why should God's name be on the dollar that will eventually take your life? So look at the right-hand corner. See that pyramid? He said, that's symbolic of the triangle of Alcoholics Anonymous. Unity, service, recovery. The legacies that we have to look forward to. He said, count the layers of bricks it takes to make the pyramid. There are 12 rows of bricks. He said, I can't help but believe that could be the 12 steps to recovery. At the very top, there's Masonic Eye. He said, I will promise you one thing, that is, if you're taking these steps within this framework to the best of your ability, that you will never, ever, ever be alone. There will always be someone at the top who's looking out for you. Bob gave me this dollar, but I had to promise Bob that if I decided I wanted to drink, I'd use this dollar to buy my first drink with. Well, I've still got the dollar bill today, and I'm going to keep this turkey. I'll keep it just as long as I can believe in the simple ABCs of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. A, I am alcoholic, and I cannot manage my own life. B, thus far there's been no human power that has been able to relieve me of my alcoholism. And C, this has been a great one for me because it was in rooms like this and with people like you that this old boy from Ardmore, Oklahoma was able to find a God who could and a God who would, just as long as he sought.
So have a good day if you want to. Thanks for listening. Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.